because dudes can be like real creepy. Dudes are creeps, especially in the gym. Like it's so weird, man. It's so weird, man. Like dudes be creeping on me at the gym. I'm just like, yo, man, that's a lot of weight, man. That's how you. Oh man, like I had to come to the realization that I was approachable, and I don't like it.
I don't like being approachable.
The facts are really stacking up.
I do not appreciate being approachable. Like I was finishing up my workout. This old man comes up to me. He was like, "Excuse me, young man." He was like, "Do you do any cardio?" Like I see you're in shape. Do you do any cardio? I was just like, "Well, I'm not playing sports anymore, so no, I don't really do cardio at all." I was like, I increased my rep range, and then that's how I get my cardio. He was like, oh, okay. I'm just trying to figure out if I should be doing. I want some advice. If I should. I mean, well, it depends on your fitness goals. If you want to do cardio beforehand and then do some weightlifting to kind of tighten everything up afterwards. Like if you're trying to lose weight and then tone everything up, then boom, you can do that. And he was, oh, okay. He's like, thank you for the advice. I was like, yeah, no problem. Like,
you are too approachable. You had a very nice conversation with this dude. God, you just have put either a mean face on, or you could just sweat a lot, and that layer of water will just keep people away from you.
I don't think that works. I think I am in the zone, and I'm like not looking at anybody. If I'm looking at something, I'm looking through people. Like it's just me. I'm just here. You know what I'm saying? I think I look mean, but I guess my mean isn't actually mean, is what I'm figuring out.
Mm-hmm.
So, what can you do? And then I have this guy who works at the front desk who he wants to say he's not a hardcore Republican, but when he says shit, it's real Republican-esque. And he just he be saying some shit. He be saying some shit. Why? the most recent thing. Why does race have to be put in everything? Why does I was just like,
it doesn't, but it has been historically. So we need.
I was like, why? Why do you feel comfortable enough? I was like, this is my problem. People feel comfortable enough saying just shit to me, saying anything to me, and then he'll interrupt me for like 30 minutes of my workout, or sit there while I lift, so he can continue to talk to me.
Yeah.
So,
some repellent.
So, yeah.
I don't know how. Oh God.
When women talk about
singlet every week.
You said what?
Wear a singlet every week.
When women say, "Oh my God, these guys are creeps in the gym," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm right there with you. They are. They are. I got a couple that'll just sit there and stare at me and not give a fuck."
But I feel like they're staring at you for very different reasons. Oh no, they might be staring at you for the same reason.
you would think. They're looking at the weight that I'm lifting, and then they're looking at my body as well. So I think I'm a little bit of.
I mean, some of them may very well be looking at you for the same reason. I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure of it.
No, we'll save that one for dating. What is?
Yeah.
What is today's topic?
What is today's? Oh yeah. Shit. So gym and lab environments. How does that contribute to your success or your failures?
So I guess I can start on the gym side. Do you guys, I guess as a whole, do you guys go to more commercial gyms, specialty gyms, or like actually, yeah, it'll be just like commercial versus specialty, and then like a bunch of different specialty gyms.
Before we get into the conversation,
Gotta introduce.
we gotta do the drop. We gotta introduce.
Oh, let's all.
Too keen.
Let's do this. All right. So, welcome welcome everybody back to another episode of At the Bench. We have the crew back together. We have Becky here, Kojo, Samnika. We got Trevor. We are all back together. We was kind of hodgepodge doing it for a little bit there, but we got a great episode for you today. We're going to talk about environment, say your gym environment, your lab environment. How does that contribute to your successes or your failures? Just when it comes to lifting, can you lift? Are you more motivated to lift a little bit more and in certain gyms, and then your successes in the lab is like the certain environment contribute to that success or that failure where you just can't get anything working, nothing seems to happen. So Kojo, you were saying something before we started. Before we got started, what was you saying?
I was curious about the people, us here, is like, do you guys go to commercial gyms versus like specialty gyms, which can just be like the difference between going to like an LA Fitness or a Planet Fitness versus going to like a CrossFit box or a powerlifting gym or something more like a weightlifting specific.
Right. So I currently go to a commercial gym, Gold's. But the thing was when I lived in Maryland, the Gold's gyms were franchises, right? So those franchises were able to kind of make the gym its own thing, its own entity. So you can do whatever you want with the gym. So the gym that I went to was it started to become like real powerlifting specific. So we had kilo plates, racks, competition benches, all that. You had it all there. So it was really nice. They had even a reverse hypers, like all that stuff. Like it had it all. It was really nice, and I was only paying like $20 a month for it. And I'm like, yo, this is it. So when I had to leave there, I was a little sad. But now in Texas, I go to still a commercial gym, but it is corporate, and the corporate Gold's gyms are very like you have to stick to this very rigid.
Cutter.
Yeah. So, huh?
They let you deadlift in your current gym?
They let me deadlift. It was funny because when I first got there, they were like, the front desk worker, this guy, he was just like, hey, is there any chance you can put the weight down more softly? It's like, nah, no, I can't.
Why is it that some gyms are like that? Why don't they like it when you drop weight heavily?
I don't know.
I think if they don't have a deadlifting platform, it can damage the floors or it could chip the weights. Right. Or at least at Planet Fitness, it can intimidate the other customers because they can't lift as heavy.
Oh God.
Yeah. I understand protecting the floor.
Yeah. Usually in gyms, they usually have like there's usually like some amount of protection for like just dumbbells, so you can just like drop things on the floor. But
okay, that's a dumbbell. We're talking about kilo. Dom probably doing like 600 pounds.
Yeah, I reckon Dom's deadlifting more than like some 20-pound dumbbells.
Just a little bit. But no. But after that, it was funny because they just knew who I was, and I was the only person doing this kind of weight in this gym. So like they knew who I was, and like I think one time, the GM tried to tell one of the workers, the worker who talks my ear off. They tried to tell him to go and tell me to put the weight down softer, and he walks over and he walked back and he was like, yeah, so he's like lifting like 600 pounds. So
there's no much softer you can go.
So I don't know what exactly you want me to say to him. She was like, oh, okay. So yeah, and so, but like honestly, that environment is really making me unmotivated. It's making me not want to it's not making me not want to lift because I still want to lift, but it's just like there's not this camaraderie, this feel of, hey, yo, I belong here, and I come here and I see other strong people, and it really motivates me to get stronger so I can be stronger than them, but I'm still, competing against myself kind of thing. But I mean, honestly, that's why I'm switching gyms now that I'm fully vaccinated.
Oh yeah,
Well,
congratulations.
actually, you got 2 more weeks.
Listen, 10 days. I said 2 weeks.
10 days. Okay, you'll be fully vaccinated when this comes out, though.
Oh, right.
There we go.
The countdown has started for you though, right now.
Yeah,
So
yeah. We had 9 days now.
Excellent.
We had 9 days now. We good. We good.
Count down to the last second. 9 days, 2 hours, and 36 seconds.
There you go. Because I'm ready. I'm ready to get back. That's why I'm ready. And I'm gonna start looking at gyms in the area, which Texas is big for powerlifting. But if you're in the Houston or Dallas area, and the Austin area isn't as big, it seems like. So I have to find a gym, but I think I found one. I just have to go check it out.
Mhm.
But that environment it's extremely important, especially for me, because it's like it gets boring being the strongest person in the gym. Shit gets
It
boring.
really does.
Have you really felt that?
Yeah, I'm with you, Kojo.
Yeah.
Leader. It's all right. One day.
There's always someone stronger than me. It's fine.
But it sounds both fun and painful at the same time.
I mean, if you're doing it right, it shouldn't be painful at all.
I missed the gym that I was the one to where I was the strongest one in the gym.
Why?
No, I missed the gym where I was the strongest one.
What I'm saying is, why do you miss that gym?
Do you miss the gym or do you miss
Why you miss that gym where you was the strongest one?
Well, actually, I mean, I just missed that gym because it was so it was a small, like, owned business gym. I don't really do commercial, but it was like because I was the strongest one, so like it's just like almost everyone like kind of like knows you or whatnot, or they're willing to, oh shit, she's here. Let me like you can use the deadlift program. You can use like it's like you know because like so this was the gym that I went to when I was doing my PhD. And like I was there always like 6:00 first thing in the morning. And it was usually just me and this other like 2 other people there. And we like knew who, like we basically alternated on what we were doing. So they knew like what days were my leg days. So they wouldn't even be trying to be on the squat rack on my leg days because they so it was like that. And then like the guy that opened it, he would always like automatically warm up the sauna for me. So so he would just turn it on that way. When I got there, it was already warmed up.
They
So it was
sound
it was amazing. And now, I mean, my apartment gym is now, I mean, but there's also like the whole creeper story too with that guy. So, but whatever. But yeah, it's just.
There's always some story, right? There's always something. But okay, so is your gym now compared to the gym that you were at for your PhD? Do you think were you a little bit more motivated at that gym, like aside from COVID happening and everything like that? Mm-hmm. But were you a little bit more motivated because that gym environment was, would you call it better?
Well, right now, like my main gym is my apartment gym was a full gym. So I'm not more motivated because like we don't have a deadlifting platform, no sauna. But I did go to I did end up getting I was here like 6 months and then I got a membership at Body Refinery, which is another like small owned gym, but it seems it's a little bit bigger. Like they've been in business for a while. They actually just, right when COVID happened, they were switching to a bigger spot and I haven't been there yet, but now I get to go since I'm vaccinated. But, and they have a sauna now too, but I haven't been able to go because of COVID. But that one was cool because then they had the things like I was telling you about, like the sissy squat, they had the reverse hyperextensions, and then they have deadlifting program platforms and chains. And I'm just more motivated there. And I can't wait to go there now because now there'll be more space because the old setup, everything was so close together because they just had so much equipment and not enough space.
Oh, okay. Was that is it the people or the actual gym that was the motivating factor?
It was the actual gym and the different equipment. I really didn't know anybody There I tend to be, I'm just like a loner. It's more like even the whole thing where we had like the alternate days, it was still like unspoken. Yeah, we didn't like say hey whatever, but yeah, it was just
that's cool.
So like it's really important to have like a good environment in terms of like both the people and not only like the availability of equipment, because it's like going from a commercial gym, you may have some form of rack that may not be like as open as you may be to actually do all the workouts you want to, but then as soon as you start moving over to things with wide range of equipment, you just feel more I guess it's more motivation, but it's just more ability to and like freedom to move around.
Right.
That like plays into lab environments too, because just to make a very hard pivot. Hard. But I had like being in chemical engineering, a lot of times I would need to borrow things from other labs, because with chemical engineering, we try to do a lot of collaboration across departments so that we get a wide breadth of research, but then it'll be using microscopes from other labs, using like just trying to use cell culture hoods from other labs. And there'd be a very stark difference if other labs were open to like that collaborative environment, or if everybody was just very, very particular about their stuff, especially with stem cell labs, because very, very particular about keeping things clean. So
yeah.
I mean, I think you want to, right?
Very true. Exactly. You definitely want to keep things clean, but even the things that they didn't use, like for stem cell research, they were like similarly strict about, because it was just the lab's like idealism to be like, make sure everything is signed out by everybody all the time and make sure everybody knows everything that happens with each piece of equipment at any time, versus where sometimes if you're clean with your technique and you trust other people in your lab environment, I could just go in and use centrifuges whatever I wanted to, or just like able to do isolations of somebody's bench just because I was very close with that person. But open lab environment versus closed lab environment, and then having availability of technology was really interesting on the environment.
I would be more on the closed lab environment, sign everything out so I can know exactly where all my stuff is. Who got what, when you bringing it back.
Hey, you had my shit for like 2 weeks now, so start becoming the collector.
all right. If you hold it more than like a week, if you're holding
yeah, but even in thinking about that for the like gyms, usually like commercial gyms, they like commercial where they're like the cookie cutter, like things can like really only be in like one spot, or like things might be really like, even benches might be just like, I don't know, nailed down, screwed down to the floor where you couldn't necessarily like move them. So like maybe there's certain different variations that you can't do, or like maybe not even being able to like take the weights to another section or whatnot. Whereas, or not even like, or things might not be great to do like supersets. Like I love doing supersets when I do my accessory exercises. But I mean, this is one reason why I don't go to like Planet Fitness or whatnot, because like you have some weights on the floor, you turn around and then next thing you know, they're gone. Whereas if you're at a smaller gym, they kind of expect things to kind of be, you might have to go looking for stuff, but you know, if you got something,
once you find it, it shows. You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. But Becky, don't you go to a what is it, CrossFit gym?
Yeah, I go to a CrossFit Box. I've been doing CrossFit for like kind of on and off for 2 years. But it's actually funny that you mentioned like collaborative nature of labs, because I just was thinking about like a slight collaborative nature of CrossFit Boxes, because obviously CrossFit Boxes in themselves are kind of independently owned gyms, but they are all just like affiliates with this kind of like CrossFit organization, right? And most of the time you get like a bunch of different CrossFit affiliates in the same area, and they kind of all know each other, and the gym owners know each other. And there is a somewhat collaborative nature. So my gym in particular, like we don't have like a GHD to do GHD sit-ups, for example. And it's just like a piece of equipment that the gym owners just never got. We don't use it very often. And one of my coaches got through to like the quarterfinals of the CrossFit Open, well, the quarterfinals to the games. And this week he had to do GHD sit-ups as one of his like qualifying workouts. And we were like, oh, we're gonna have to, and like we had to collaborate with other CrossFit gyms in town, so we like borrow their equipment. And I was just thinking about the fact that we have this collaborative nature in science and like borrow things from other labs, but I've never thought about it in the sense of like we have this collaboration in like the gym level. Yeah,
right.
Well, that was quite interesting that you brought that up.
Especially in the CrossFit gyms. I mean, I feel like since it's a box gym that you have a certain set of equipment. It's not really wide ranging like that. So like you you go there, you're going to be doing these CrossFit workouts. What do you call them? WODs? WODs?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't want to sound like that CrossFit twat, but yeah, a daily CrossFit WOD. Because like, let's face it, CrossFitters have a reputation for like being assholes and just really annoying.
You're just being particular about your sport. You just gotta use the right vocabulary with it.
Yeah, but we are some of us are decent, nice people, I promise.
Decent. Some of them are decent people. I don't know. You know what? Honestly, like it's funny because when I got into powerlifting, I didn't understand why people hated CrossFit so much. I was like, oh, I hate the way they pull-ups, and I hate the way they blah blah blah. I was just like, bro, at least they being healthy. Like, what is what's the problem?
CrossFit, I think with any sport, you get the people that give it a bad rep, right? And CrossFit quite rightly does have a bad rep because there are some CrossFit boxes that care way more about strength and gains over form.
Okay.
And I just make sure that, so like I was a member of a CrossFit box back in Atlanta, and then when I moved to Florida and I was like, all right, I want to carry on doing CrossFit. It was like the most important thing was whatever box I join in town, it needs, like, the coaches need to prioritize form over everything because I don't want to be hurting myself.
Okay, yeah. That's true.
And that's something that when it comes to the environment, that's the thing that I love the most about the kind of like style of workouts that I do is it's the people and the coaching, because that idea of like camaraderie and like every workout we do together, and it's slightly competitive. Like there's people in that gym that I know are like my kind of level fitness, so like when they're in the same workout as me, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep up with them, I'm gonna try and push past them, and it's just like add a little motivation.
I like that. That's dope. I mean, the girl. See, I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say. Honestly, I had something and I lost it real quick. But to move on, Trevor, what kind of gym do you go to?
I do just kind of a specialty powerlifting gym. So I started out going to commercial Planet Fitness, and then got to the point to where to do squats, I was pulling plates from everywhere I could possibly find to do them. And it just got sickening walking across the gym to get what I needed. Like Sunika said, they had the decline bench when I would be doing decline crunches. I'd have to run over, or even decline bench press. I'd have to run on the other side of the gym, carry that thing all the way across to the Smith machine, and it was just absolutely insane. So I ended up finding this local gym that's just really, it's small, tight-knit community that of like-minded people that are all into powerlifting, bodybuilding, and that's where I started thriving. That's where I started seeing the most gains, was at a gym, because when I walk into that gym, there's just such an energy in there, and that gives me that motivation. Seeing people that's like focused on their workout, lifting heavy ass weights. That's what gets me going. So if I walk into the gym and see that's my biggest motivator.
That's dope. The people are important. Like it's like having a family. Like it's having that tight knit community.
Yeah.
It's so nice, especially like outside of the lab. Like, I know some people like to their friends are their coworkers in the lab, and that's all they have, and then they don't really have friends outside of the lab. And I like to kind of, I was like, I have a few friends that are, in science or at the university, but then I have a lot of friends that are a part of my hobby, which is powerlifting, which is great because you get to meet so many different people who are so many different ranges of like careers and what they're into, and then you get exposed to things that you never thought you would ever get exposed to. So that's I know when once I leave my gym here, that's what I'm looking for. Just I ain't got friends. Like even though people approach me all the time, I ain't got friends. Like it's really
Wait,
strange. Not that I
I
want
think everyone clearly wants to be your friend by the sounds of it. Like
to.
they consider you their friend.
maybe, yeah, they think you're their friend, but you just don't think they're your friend.
Well, you know what? What's crazy? Like I only see him like once, so or not once, but I only see him when I go to that particular thing. So whenever I go to the gym, I only see these people whenever I go to the gym. We don't have each other's phone numbers. We don't have each other's IGs. We don't got none of that. So it was like
We
you know.
saw my friend Dom at the gym. Yeah, 600 plus. Yeah, it was cool. Like, did you talk to him? No, I just saw him from.
No.
Do you know his full name? Any other information?
Any other info? Like, oh my, yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that gym community because I had that, and back in like Maryland, and then back in Atlanta when I lived there, I had a gym community because I went to you can call it like a garage gym. It was like in this industrial park, and it was a powerlifting gym. No air conditioning, no heat. We we going in. We out here. we out here. We just doing it grungy. So like it was fun. It was nice. It was a great time. Plus everybody in there was powerlifting. So like you get to absorb information from other people, and it's so great. It's such a great environment. At the gym I'm currently at, I'm the information that people are absorbing from. People are trying to absorb my information. I'm just like, not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm gonna be nice to whoever wants my advice, sure. Because I guess I'm not trying to be mean, which I guess I should be if I don't want people talking to me.
Going back to that, you can just either accept to be a nice guy.
Yeah, I don't know if you can. You have no control over it. Unfortunately,
it's a shame. It's a shame. But
Can I ask? Are you the same in lab? So like, if you are at the bench and you're working and you're like, and someone's like, "Hey, don't mean to bother you, but a load of questions," are you also like, "Go away"?
Oh, I'm not like that at all. I'm very, very nice in the lab. I mean, not only because not that I have to be, but it's just like it makes for a better lab environment. Now that's a transition.
There you go.
Now that's a transition.
I was about to say like the what Trevor said about like walking into a gym and like everyone's powerlifting and you're like absorbing the same knowledge and is that kind of like atmosphere. And I feel like it's the same with a lab. Like I walk into my lab and I feel like you're right, it is like my family, they are my friends, and walking into that environment I'm able to put like my little scientist hat on and do my job properly.
That's dope. I know for me, so I've had a few different lab environments, but my current one is probably the most different one that I've been in because there are a lot of people in the lab and everybody seems to like each other and get along. It's like a family. They're pretty cool. Like and it's not anything forced. Like if we're not talking, then when everybody's working. If we're talking, then we're having a good time. It's a great conversation. There's nothing off the walls. But in the environment, it's pretty nice. Like it makes me want to stay there and work and hang out and talk science because we do that all the time. I want to interact and talk science with them. So it makes it a lot better. It makes it an easier environment. It makes it a lot easier. Plus, I've been on the other hand of that, or on the other side of that, where I was in the lab with a lot of people, but it was very cliquey. Didn't get along with everybody. People were, if you wasn't going out drinking with them, then you wasn't in the group. And I'm just like, well, brother, I don't want to go out to a bar with you in the middle of the week. 2, I don't drink. So like if it's happy hour and it's like half price appetizers, now I can go for some food. I can always go for some food, but you make it seem like, nah, man, we just drinking. There's no food. I'm like, oh, okay, well that's what we're doing. All right, well, forget it then. So and then like in my PhD, it was just me, and like I was my lab environment. So like that isolation is the isolation is deafening. Like you don't get to talk to anybody, and you just kind of put your head down and work. And I think my current boss now is so surprised how independent that I am. But I was like, yo, I was in a situation where I had to be, because if I wasn't independent, then I wouldn't have got my PhD, or wouldn't have gotten my PhD yet, right? So that your environment really not controls it. It's like the nature versus nurture thing. Like your environment really shapes sometimes your who you are, and what your science is going to be. Because I'm having great success in my lab, and they make me want to work. And it was like, granted, I'm a postdoc, and like I'm not trying to work my ass off like a PhD student. Sorry, Kojo. but like I'm not trying to work my ass off out here. But I'm at a place where I want to work. I want to get these results, and things are progressing forward. And like my boss is like, and the boss, I feel like the PI, like even though you're working with people in the lab, the PI really makes that lab environment.
Such a difference.
It really makes that lab environment. I mean, Samnika is the PI out here. Making the lab.
That's so much pressure.
What do you mean? How so?
The PI makes the lab environment. Leave it up to me. So I am so like, so like my master's, I was my advisor's only master's student. So I was like, totally independent, did the stuff. Then I come into this PhD lab where there's like 5 people in there, 6 people. And everybody's all, I wouldn't necessarily say they were like cliquey, but everybody was like, oh, we're friends. And to me, I'm like, my PhD is like my job. I come, I do work, and I leave. You're not my friends. You're my coworkers. I don't need to go we don't need to like have these like game nights the game nights they wanted me to invite game nights, but everybody had pets and I was allergic to cats and dogs. And like, no one wanted to like try to come up with a way to include me, or it would be like it would be last minute. They will, and I can hear them talking. I'm like, oh, y'all don't think I can hear y'all making plans and figuring out what day and what time. And then after y'all figure out what's work for you, the day before, y'all like, hey, Sam, you want to, we're going to have game night. You want to come? So I ended up, in my head, it's like, I come to work, I do my work, and then I leave. And then like, because I don't want to do work when I leave. Mm-hmm. I don't want to have to go home and do work. So like, they'll sit up there and be having like conversations, hours long conversations. And I'm sitting at my desk with my headphones on, trying to do my work. And then at 4 o'clock, they're like, oh, you're leaving? Yeah, I've been here since 9. It ain't my fault that y'all was talking for the first 3 hours. Like
talking, scrolling through Facebook, IG, all that.
Right. So now that me being a PI, like it's a little weird because this is the first year. I have 3 graduate students, but with COVID, we don't like they just work from home. So they work on their own. I do have like a small lab space, but because I'm a computational a lab, ours is completely dry lab. So there is a space where they have computers and stuff, but just haven't been on campus. But I don't really know how to cultivate that like work environment. We have weekly lab meetings online via Zoom, and hopefully next year when we get back into being in person, we can have it together. But I mean, I'm not going to try to force them to be friends. I mean, you work together, but as long as there's like no major disruptions. But like, I don't feel like as a PI, it's my responsibility to make sure all my students get along, or I don't know.
I actually would echo that. It's like you do have your students, and I think you're doing right, where it's like you're meeting and just handling the COVID situation as you can. But it's not like you truly have to say, all of my students need to make sure they get along and be nice with each other. It's more, you're gonna give your students like a platform if they want to talk to each other, they want to like interact with each other. But I actually do like your hands-off approach, where it's like you're gonna do work, you're gonna have that be work, and then let them do what they need to do. But in terms,
yeah.
So would y'all say? So if that's the case, all right. Let me play devil's advocate for a second. So what happens if they don't like each other at all, and then there's tension in the lab? Is it the PI's job to relieve some of that tension, so people can, like, if you don't want to be there, right, and you're just like, yo man, fuck these dudes, fuck these people, like I don't want to be here, like I don't want to be around these people, and so now you don't want to be around them. And so that causes for there to be a production decrease. Now, is it your job to try to mediate, or do you just let that handle on its own?
Oh, see, I have a different. See, you actually have like wet lab work where y'all literally got to be in the same physical space as each other and whatever. My stuff don't have to do that. My 3 students are working on 3 total different projects. They ain't got to collaborate with each other at all. The only thing they do have to do is, so part of our lab meetings, like this semester, everybody's working on their proposal. So we're doing like a step-by-step process to make sure they get through everything, and they got to provide feedback to each other. So I actually am facilitating. I'm not leaving it on their own. It's like, okay, this person is presenting this week. We're going over objectives. Everybody needs to provide feedback on the objectives. So I'm trying to prevent the whole thing that happened when I was a PhD student, where I would be giving my co-workers feedback, but nobody would help me with my stuff. But it's where everyone, I mean, I think it all depends on like if I can, like, I try to have, so I have a joint lab meeting with another PI, and we kind of like facilitate, I don't necessarily want to call it a safe space, but it's like we talk about like mental health and self-care and things like that, and like that this is a place of belonging and inclusion, and like there's certain things you don't do. So hopefully our students will feel comfortable if they have an issue talking to us about it, and it depends on what the issue is. Now if they're like, oh yeah, somebody says something racist or something sexist towards me, we gonna nip that in the bud right then and there. But if somebody just don't like cats, I can't or like something like that, or
I don't like cats, so I don't like you. I was like, oh, okay. Big cat person. Big energy. So Trevor, in industry, how is the lab environments there? And then do you think they are really are they friendly? Is there a lot of communication and a lot of sharing of information in those environments?
Yeah, with the lab environments in the industry, at least the 2 places that I've worked so far, it's really interesting how you see these different labs communicating with each other, and even, I wouldn't say different departments, because you have the lab associates, then you have, say, finances, corporate, all these other departments that come together. It's such a collaboration that you see between the 2. I mean, there's such a friendly communication. Even people that I've never really met in person, they've just seen my picture on my email. Well, if we're walking through the hallways, and they'll be like, oh, hi Trevor, how are you? How's your day going? I haven't, that communication is so strong in industry, which I was really surprised of, because it's not really, it's more of something where one lab will take care of it and they'll pass it on to the other. Like my lab will receive test articles, log the testing in, and then get it onto whatever lab is actually going to carry out that testing. So it's kind of a conveyor belt, but it's so interesting to see how these different parts of that conveyor belt will actually communicate with one another. So like I said, I can be best friends with somebody in finances, and I've honestly don't spend 8 hours a day with them. I might communicate with them via email twice a week, if that. So it's really interesting to see that part. Now, is really difficult. I resonated with the fact that you said how you had to work on by yourself, work very individually, because about 90% of my day I'm in my own office doing data entry, data review. What makes it really difficult is going from that setting where I have my headphones in, not really communicating with anybody outside of that, to my actual lab that they do the testing, they do all of that. And jumping into that, especially when I first started there, I was in that lab 100% of the time as far as training goes. Right. Then I left, got into the position I am now. I've been there for about 4 months now into that area. Trying to go back into that lab is very difficult. It's hard to get back in the flow of everything. You kind of feel like the outsider. So I think that's something we should discuss too. If you're new to a lab, or if you're making that transition and trying to get in that flow, how do you handle that? Because honestly, I have difficulty. I've been just trying to spend more time in that lab, talk to people as much as you can, but that's a difficult part. So I kind of like to hear you guys' input on that, what you think.
I just don't give a fuck. No, I'm always the outsider. I mean, I feel like I'm like perpetually an outsider. So it's just normal for me. So I just literally don't care if I'm an outsider or not.
Go ahead.
I was like, you got to think too, like it can harm, it can do a decrease in productivity. So, I mean, if you're not part of that flow, if you're not able to kind of interact with everybody as smoothly as they would if, you're not there, and you kind of put a wrench into the gears, it can harm that productivity. So, especially in industry, I mean, if your lab, let's say if my lab is delayed, that causes a delay down the line.
Process management. I mean, this goes on to like, this kind of like switches into just when you think about the aspects of race and gender, like I'm literally always the outsider, because usually I'm the only one. I'm the only Black female in a lab. And that's why, I don't know, for me, I don't do so well working as a team. If it's teamwork, I am the team. I will do everything rather than have to depend on someone else. So I'm trying to, it is so hard now as a PI, I have to like, what is it called? I have to delegate. And it's so hard to delegate. Especially because no matter what happens, I'm always going to be the one I'm the PI. So I'm in charge of of the whole finished product. But I think I mean, a lot of times it's just not in my control, like your control, maybe of just the culture of the lab or whatnot, to make sure no one feels like an outsider. But like, if there's like some kind of maybe protocol in place to try to make sure everyone knows their role, and that like maybe people can't freeze someone out. Because like you might, you say you go to the lab like 10% of the time and you feel like you don't really know. But if there's like something that make sure you're included, like even if it's like a 10-minute briefing at the beginning of the workday so you can catch up, or if y'all are having like, maybe there's a lab notebook or something that has like just updates or things like that, things should know. So then when someone new comes in, even temporarily, they kind of can do a quick catch up.
I like that idea, actually, of that kind of 10-minute briefing, even if it's a quick email. I mean, just to kind of send that out at the beginning of the day, here's what we have going on. And it's actually a good idea.
That's dope. Samnica kind of works individually anyway. So like, you don't really have to collaborate with people. So
I mean, I have to collaborate with my grad students, and
yeah, but
basically,
you boss. You tell them what to do.
I mean, okay. How well did that work when you were a grad student? How well did your PI, him being your boss, telling you what to do? How well did that work?
I mean, I had to. What do you mean? Like, how well did it work?
Oh, okay. See, I didn't do everything my boss told me to do.
Oh. Well, now there's the difference there.
there are times though that like your PI tells you to do something, and I'm not saying in this reference to you, Sound. This is from my own personal experience. Where my PI, it had been so like, because he's an older man, it'd been so long since he'd been at the bench that he'd suggest a certain experiment, and I'd go away and I'm like, I know that there's a better way to do that.
Exactly.
And he'd be like, oh yeah, actually that was good. That's good that you did that, not my way. I'm like, okay, good.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I didn't. Yeah, I'm computational. My advisor was not computational at all, and he'd be like, "Yeah, let's do this," and then I'm like, "Okay, so this is what I did," and he'd be like, "How come?"
I was like, "This is what I did."
Well, I mean, so I think there's not listening to your advisor, your PI, and then there's like finding a better way of doing what your advisor asked, right?
Okay.
You're still
let's just say one of my students had to turn in an introduction. Like they started in their first draft of the introduction, and I looked at it and I was like, why are you not? I'm just like, so what did he do what I tell him to do? No, I literally sent it right back to him with text on him. I was like, where's your outline? Where are all the citations? He literally, like, all my students have my text on my phone number, and he's like, oh, because he said he wrote it down like handwritten. So he does better writing. He's like, he needs to type it up. I was like, okay, yeah, so type it up and send it to me. And then like the next day afternoon, he's like, did you give a chance to give me comments yet? And I'm like, nigga, it's only been 24 hours.
Right.
And then when I looked at it, I was like, where are the citations? Please put all the citations in here and send it back to me after their citations and follow your outline. There's no reason why. I was like, this whole paragraph, this is. So yeah, they don't do everything you tell them to do.
Yeah, but I feel like that's like, it's a writing issue, right? Like it, or a time management writing issue. Like it's not a full defiant act. I mean, in my opinion, it's not a full. I mean, I think there has only been there. So what my current boss does, he likes to, like, whenever he's thinking about something, he'll like send an email. I kind of want to do this to him because I think about my project all the time, and I have ideas, and I'm just like, oh shit, I write them down. I just don't send them to anybody. I just execute, and then I show him the results. He was like, oh wow, that's a great idea. Yeah, I know, but like. He'll send stuff, and a lot of the stuff is just him thinking out loud and him needing to write it and send it to somebody. Because he was like, well, if it's a good idea, you can pick it up and run with it. If it's not, then leave it alone. So even then, I was given the option, but like I don't. But yeah, I mean, because like I got too much. Like my project is going well, and so there's multiple layers to my project, and I really need either an undergraduate or a grad student, some kind of minion to do my bidding. Anyways, like I need.
When I'm saying really, like, are you really given the option? Remember we talked about this, whether like, is it the option or can you say no?
So it depends on what it is. So like, especially if it's like a side project thing that he's wanting to start up, then that's definitely an option. If it's talking about my main project, then nah, that ain't no option. You better get this done, kind of thing. So like I don't really know. And even when I was in a situation where my boss felt like this was back in Atlanta, where he felt like I wasn't listening to him. I was listening to him when I was doing what he was saying, but I wasn't doing it exactly the way he wanted. And so he felt like, oh, you're not listening to me. You're not taking heeding my word, taking my advice, all this stuff. Why am I even telling you to do things? So I feel like it depends on the PI there.
Because you're not God and your word is not law. Oh, I'm sorry.
My bad. I was thinking out loud. thinking out loud. So I want to ask you, Kojo, with your chemical engineering, what's your lab environment like? Because you were saying earlier you had to go like collaborate with different departments, use their microscopes, use their cell culture hoods, all that. Like, what is your environment like, especially as a chemical engineer? Because I always wonder. It was like, yo, do y'all have wet work? Do y'all have is it dry?
There was like it's an even like amount of like wet and dry work. And a lot of my wet work was like prior to when I did my PhD. So it was a lot of undergrad experiences, internships where I'd be like bopping around in the labs to see what and see like how like a project would be going or how like a PhD student would be working. And it's truly like the environment of chemical engineering, like they want you to be really collaborative and they want you to be working with other students, which works to an effect depending on how cohesive the unit is. Because so we were talking about it earlier where Samnika was like, you have your students and you'll just give them their projects and let them do what they do. But then if there's tension in like somewhat of a larger group, then would the PI need to come in and like mitigate some of that so that the collaborative environment and productivity can keep moving forward? Or would they just kind of like let everything like section out into its own little projects? And it was just interesting where I found like a lot of different, as like labs get larger, it was like naturally cliques would form, and then you could be collaborative within your clique, and you could try to branch out, but there will be almost some form of tension depending on how like large the cliques would get and things like that. But now it's been a lot easier because I'm only computational, and I feel as if I can just email every grad student in my lab to just ask any questions, talk about computer parts, or just do any work that we need to. And every time I bring up my project, they're just like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing? I wanna hear about that." He's like, "Whoa, hey bro, I gotta go back to doing it."
Yeah. I mean, even with that, like right now, I'm fairly new, so like I only have 3 grad students, and they're working on 3 separate projects. But eventually I might have more than one student working on like maybe on a particular project. Like I have like a main site, prairie, ticks, small mammals, that I'm actually writing a big grant for. And if I get enough for that, then I'll probably have 2 or 3 grad students working on that grant. That was actually another reason why, like when my PhD program went, because I was computational, I got to kind of like choose my project, and I decided to choose the project that no one else was working on. So instead of working on the Grand River Grassland, doing computational stuff with the Grand River Grasslands, where 3 other people, grad students, was working at that project, I decided to do the Lyme disease stuff where nobody was working on that. Because the other person was like leaving, because I was like, oh, there's too many cooks in this kitchen. I don't want to have to collaborate with everybody and figure out like and parse out our different stuff and maybe deal with any of those issues.
Yeah, I feel like that's hard.
I mean,
it's difficult to like be working on a project and try to get a slice of this small pie. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, yo, everybody's doing it. So like, where do I fit in? I mean, that's kind of on, I guess, on the PI a little bit, making sure
you have
a wide range of projects to do.
Because I mean, if that one, like, because that was the project, like they all were kind of like collaboratively, where like there was a data set that they all were using, and then they maybe like added to that for their particular project. But then it's just, you trust in someone else for pieces of your data collection that's going into your project. And then when they had to do, because they actually did field season where they had to go to Iowa for 3 months for the summer and collect data. And then the process of them having negotiating who they were hiring as field techs, they had to live in the same like field house and all that stuff. And there was just one big deal with pets, that when this new girl came, her dog, like everybody else would bring their cats in, so she wanted to bring her dog. And so she brought her dog the first year. And then the second year, they basically tried to like kick her out, like, so she couldn't. And then our advisor was like, he's like, wait, y'all bring y'all pet. Like, he didn't even know people were bringing their pets to the house.
Oh.
So he ended up, and then with her, he ended up having to, so he ended up paying for separate like housing for her for that second year. Cause like people are like, well, I need to bring my pet because it's like my emotional support, or I'm not with, and then she's like, well, you have a spouse where your cat can stay. Why does your cat have to come? My dog, I have no one else to watch my dog when I'm gone for the summer.
Right.
And it was just, and I'm like, how about nobody? I was like, how about nobody? And then I was just thinking like, good thing I'm not on this project, because I'm allergic, because y'all all would have been pissed off at me, because nobody would have been able to bring their pets.
You duck that. It's interesting because it's interesting. Yeah. Like a full ability to be able to choose your project and like be an individual and do what you wanted to do. And although it's you don't have other people to work with, and it may have been more of a niche project, you now don't have to deal with
none of that. Right.
That's nice. That's real nice. So
it also didn't have funding, because when I came in, that was a project that I kind of came in that it was recommended for funding, but then it ended up not getting funding. But I still came because that school gave me the most money, and I still just decided to do that project anyway. And then even like in my year 3, my advisor was like, he's like, you're actually doing pretty good. Because just like, we don't have the support that I wanted to have for you, because it was supposed to be like a large team, but because it didn't get funded, he was like, I was a little concerned when you said you still wanted to work on this, even though it didn't have like NSF funding. I was like, I'll figure it out just in applying for small grants. And I was like, and it's computational. Yeah. I got a grant to buy me a computer. So that's all I needed.
So all the equipment I need. I don't need anything else. Or what more do you want?
It was a $12,000 computer though. Boy.
Oh.
I still got the computer though, because it was like the computer, the funding was with the it was a collaboration with Intel and then the Association for Computing Machinery. So they gave $15,000 for 3 years, but they gave it directly to the students. So my first year, I just used it to buy the computer. And then my advisor was like, well, when usually equipment you buy with a grant or whatnot, it's supposed to be like university property. And I was like, they sent that check directly to me and I paid for that computer directly out of my bank account. So I'm taking that computer with me.
It's mine now.
I was like, I did not go through university procurement for that computer. That is my computer.
It's my property now. You know how they put the little sticker, the university sticker on there with the barcode?
There's not one of those on that computer.
Put your own. That's what you do. You put your own little sticker there.
It just got a passcode on it. Y'all can't, if y'all don't know the passcode, y'all can't use it.
Y'all hit. Dang, that's great. Becky, how long have you been in your lab?
I've been working with my current PI for 2 years. The lab that we're in, because we started at Emory, that's where she was a professor to start off with. But I was in that lab for 6 months before we then moved to the University of Florida. So we've been in like our actual environment that we're in, the lab space, like a year and a half. It'll be 2 years come August.
So what was it like for you moving from the UK to America and like trying to get ingrained in this? Well, America as a whole, but like the lab environment, or how was that?
It was a really big learning curve on like so many different levels, not just coming from the UK to the US. That's just one element of having to learn how to adapt. But I was also transitioning from PhD to postdoc, which, as you know, is not always the easiest thing. It's a big learning curve. I was going from kind of strict neuroscience, lysosomal biology to a lab that specialized in the immune system. All of a sudden, I had to learn about the immune system, which I literally knew nothing about. I remember sitting in like some of our first couple lab meetings, and like the grad students presenting, just like doing a whip, just like a work in progress, what they're up to. And I'm like sitting there like, I have no idea what's going on. Oh my God. But I do now. It's been a big learning curve. But as well, I think there are a lot of differences with the way that PhDs are structured and also the way that certain labs are structured in the UK versus the US. So one major difference, and obviously it's different from lab to lab, but I'm basing this just like on my personal experience, is during my PhD, we were a big lab. There was like 30 of us come the end, and it was my PI, and then everyone was either a PhD student or a postdoc. There were no technicians, there were no rotating like undergrads, like there were no minions to help you. You were there, and it was like I don't want to say dog eat dog, because that makes it sound like it was a really toxic environment, but it was I don't know, like what's that phrase? If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen kind of. Well, you've got to get on with it.
Yeah. Was it just competitive? Is that what it was?
Competitive, and also like there was just like huge expectations on your shoulders where like you were working 50, 60 hours a week, more than that most of the time. You had to do everything yourself. There wasn't as much collaboration within our lab. But then I moved to my current lab, which is don't get me wrong, I did love my PhD lab. I got a great PhD from it, and the people like I'll be friends with for life. But I wasn't a very happy person working there, which obviously is very important. But now,
you said 50 to 60 hours a week.
Yeah, exactly. No wonder I was happy. And like I was working all those hours, and then I was still trying to juggle. Like I used to row for my college, and I was like the vice captain of the boat club, so I was trying to like juggle that as well. Basically, I was just stretched way too thin, so obviously I was miserable. But now my current postdoc, my boss is like, she is very vocal with the fact that she doesn't want us to burn out. She wants us to have balance, and we have like, she makes sure that like she'll like, I remember I had a meeting with her, and she's like, okay, so how's things going? To like update me on the project. And I'll tell her, and she's like, okay, who do you need me to hire? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, do you need a tech? Do you need an undergrad? Who do you need for me to help you? And I'm like, my old boss never did anything like that. What? So it's been very different, but like a really good different in that sense. I love it so much more.
That's amazing. I wish my PI would be like, hey, who do I need to hire? I was like,
I mean,
okay.
it's obviously coming from a point of like privilege in the sense that my boss has like a lot of grant money that she needs to spend. So she's like, all right, cool. Who am I hiring next? Which obviously not every lab has that ability.
Right.
So I'm very fortunate in that sense.
And you said she was very vocal about not burning out and making sure you guys are like sticking to a...
Yeah, don't get me wrong. She wants us to work hard because she is a PI and we got to get papers out. But her approach is the paper will get published. Like it's going to get published, whether it's now or in 6 months' time. If the difference between now and 6 months' time is you retaining your sanity and still being a productive member of this team, then in 6 months' time it is.
That's real nice.
It's really healthy. I love it.
Yeah. I feel like the same, like to bring it all home. I feel like the same goes for both the lab and the gym. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to burn out in either. Again, Kojo, that's a good transition. We're going softly around this curve where we're not drifting around this curve. You know?
Right. You know I Tokyo drift into
I'm whipping it out here. No, but but like both in the gym and the lab, you don't want to ever burn out, right? You want to make sure that yes, you spend adequate time in the lab getting work done, doing everything that you need to do, but you need that break. You need that mental health break to just not think about science at all. Like you might love science. I love science. I need a break from science. Like I need to miss science to love it, you know? Like if it, you know, got taken away, it'd be like, yo, I would be bored without this. And the same goes for the gym, you know? Like yes, people want to work out 7 days a week, put it in work, and just going hard each and every single day. But then you physically, like lab is mentally burn out, you physically in the gym burn out, and you don't want to physically burn out because then there goes your gains, there goes your progress, there goes all that. So I know I tell people all the time, like rest like in both aspects, rest is so important. You have to rest your mind and you have to rest your body, because if you don't have either one of those, then you're just a vegetable at this point. So we don't want that. I think that's huge with lab environments. But to get back onto a whole lab environment as a whole, and this would be the last thing, because I've been in my lab for less than a year, all during COVID, trying to create, or not create a good lab environment, but trying to get entrenched in this lab environment. And we talked about it earlier. It was like, oh, am I a nice, happy person in the lab? And I was just like, well, if I wasn't, they'll be less, they'll be reluctant to help me. If I was this asshole, be like, yo, I don't need your help. I don't need you. Like, who wants to help? Who wants to help the asshole in the lab? Nobody.
Well, maybe the asshole don't need no help. I mean, but okay.
But hold on. You all right? You felt some type of way about that, didn't you? You was just like, you know what?
Yeah, I felt like I was being attacked.
Felt attacked.
But I like the energy.
I like that energy. Oh my god. Well, see, that's the thing. I'm pretty sure people were still willing to help you.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I was like, there's assholes that people just don't want to approach at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's people out there be like, I don't know if I want to fuck with you. Like, I don't know. You don't want to help them. You don't want to help them. Why would you? So, like, when I got into this environment, I made sure that I was nice, that I talked to them about life, talked to them about just what I do myself. You know, just stay humble, stay happy, and you know, keep those people on your side, because you know, especially in this, like, in an environment like that, you're gonna need those people. I mean, and the same could go for in the gym, because sometimes you might need someone for advice, because they might be stronger than you, and you're just like, yo man, like what do you do? What is
You might need somebody to help you put that weight off your chest when you start failing.
Yeah.
Not that fake spot where they just watch.
Like, ooh, he might die. Ooh, I ain't gonna help, but he might die. Ooh. That's what he gets for being an asshole. I mean, but it's true in both environments. It's so true. But your environments are so important. Would y'all, like, as a totality, agree that lab environments are directly, or almost directly correlated to your success in the lab?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, and I mean but on the other side, it's the same for the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Kind of said it, but it was just like after everybody moved into their more like specialized gyms and they felt more of a motivation, or they had more things available. Like it's just, now we're scientists who live.
Right.
It now becomes such a piece of our lives.
Yeah. So I think I really do think, like, when you're looking for environments to get into, like, I know, because I'm a huge advocate of spending less to get more out of it, because you can, especially if you're just starting out, like lifting or something, you don't really need to go to a specialty gym. Just go to a commercial gym, spend a little bit less, and you're good. Like, but I've gotten to a point financially where I can afford it. You know what I'm saying? And two, I've gotten to a point strength-wise to where this commercial gym doesn't serve me anymore. So always know when an environment doesn't serve you anymore, and be able to recognize that, so you can get out of that environment, so you can get into another environment that helps you flourish.
Yeah.
See, boom! Look, I'm just dropping gems. We should just end it right there.
Now does that count as being smooth?
No, it doesn't.
I'm so smooth. Yeah.
So good. Oh my god! But you know, I know it's harder to get out of, like, that's like gym environments. I know it's harder to get out of lab environments, but you have to be in a lab environment that serves you too, as well. And especially if you're, like, looking for one, which we'll talk about in another podcast, like how do you search for the right lab. But understanding, one of those tips is understanding that environment, understanding how do they get along, especially if you get to visit, which now you kind of don't, or you don't at all, but understand that environment to where, okay, how do they get along? How do they interact with each other? Are they positive with each other? Do they look like they're having fun, or they just look straight miserable? Like, when I visited Vanderbilt, like, they looked miserable, and I was like, I'm good. Like, your faces, your demeanor says it all. And it looks like you guys are so, like, that's okay being spread out, but it look like you guys don't even talk to each other, barely. Especially when we went out to lunch, I was like, oh man, y'all barely talk to each other. Okay, y'all y'all mess with each other, do y'all? And I was like, yeah, I don't want that environment. And then when I went to UT Austin, I was like, oh, y'all, okay, y'all like each other. Y'all, we hanging out. We cool. Like, but it's not like they have lives outside of this, which I was like, okay, I like that. I like that. That's cool. So make sure that you're especially in a lab environment that's going to help you succeed and that you feel comfortable. Because if once you feel comfortable, your productivity goes up, and then your rate of success can go up. You know, because granted, I get it. Not everything works, especially in science, but it helps you troubleshoot because you want to be there troubleshooting. You want to be there making sure that it works because you like it there. You like the project. You like it there. You like the people in the lab. It's important. It's important. But so we're going to wrap this all up in a nice little bow. Is there anything else y'all would like to say to the peoples out there, to the scientists who live community about, just gym or lab environments? We good? We good out here? All right, man. Hey, listen, I appreciate y'all being a part of this panel talk, even though, y'all, it was kind of y'all decision. So, yeah, I hope y'all like this. Hope y'all like being around. Yeah.
I send you these emails and choose to make time for this because I particularly don't like this and want to just stick it to you. But
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally did not just set my alarm 5 minutes before 1 o'clock so I can wake up to do this.
Oh, I love it. I
lost Trevor.
Oh, we lost Trevor.
Trevor was like, right, we're done. Cool.
Okay, cool. I'm out. But yeah, no, okay. But
the clock watcher.
Oh, there you
there
go.
he's back.
Hey, I'm back.
I'm back. All right, I'm gonna try to cut this part out, but it's too funny not to. But listen, hey, thanks to the whole community, for all our listeners, our viewers on YouTube, for listening to this episode of At the Bench, discussing gym and lab environments. Thank you, Becky, Kojo, Samnika, Trevor, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.